Good evening all and welcome to Split Second Broadcasting's continued coverage of Season 11 of the Great Lakes Racing Truck Series, as tonight we prepare for the Dynasty Fantasy Racing League's 201 at the stock car racing capital of the world. Tonight, it's the D-shaped mile-and-a-half, the quad oval of Charlotte Motor Speedway on the eve of Memorial Day weekend. I'm Seth Cole, being joined by Ross Brockman, and here tonight, Ross, our third longest race of the season by length, 134 circuits for these drivers, which is going to emphasize keeping that truck in one piece, having an endurance mentality, and keeping those tires preserved for the long run.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how it goes because Charlotte, you have the Coke 600, the most famous race for Charlotte, is a long endurance race. It's about, maybe saving fuel at times, saving your tire sets. These drivers are going to get a little bit of a taste of that in Great Lakes Truck Series style. So I'm super excited to see all of them, how they manage it. I think we're going to have a wide range of strategies. And it's, like you say, it's awesome to be looking at Charlotte on Memorial Weekend or heading into Memorial Weekend. Looking forward to this one.
30 drivers ready to take the green. We've had 3 different race winners. We've now had 4 different pole sitters here in the first 4 races, as Hunter Madalinas will nab his first start on the inside of the front row. We'll take you through your starting lineup. Shane Neiswanger going to start on the outside of the front row, his best starting spot so far here in Season 11.
Yeah, some former champions in row 2 with Elliot Henderson in the 37 truck and Nathan Jump to his right.
Tony Manji coming off a great run last time out at Richmond. Alongside of him, a driver that looked like he was going to have a good run, but circumstances did not work out in his favor, Ashton Lawson.
Starting 7th, the 53 of Jared Duda, and starting 8th, the number 91 of Austin Moore.
How about last week's winner, Christian Peterson? He's going to make up the inside of row number 5. Zachary Henry, been consistent this season, completes that top 10.
Starting 11th, the 56 of Matthew Weeks, who got his first win finally a few weeks ago, and then Eric Kep to his right.
A couple of drivers trying to make their way up into a playoff spot tonight. In row 7, Josh Robin, and number 8, Evan Snyder in the 93.
Starting 15th is Nicholas Caressel, and starting 18th is Matthew Durr.
Back in row 9, you'll find the 5 of Brent Kincott, and Trey Bartow making his second start on the season will roll off in 18th.
Starting 19th, the number 2 truck of Preston Henry, and starting 20th, the number 42 of Jeremy Pienta.
Got to go a long ways back to 21st, starting to find our Daytona winner Spencer Owens. Hunter Brittle deep in the field once again for the second straight week, rolls off 22nd.
Starting 23rd is the 00 of Aiden DuPont, and to his right, the 41 of Justin Mons.
Row 13 is going to find Travis Hanby to his outside, the number 1 of Jared Darling.
Starting 27th is the 27 of William Barbagelata. I think he's going to be moving up through the pack. And then starting to his right, the 28 in 28th is James Shiflett.
And completing the field here tonight is going to be the 98 of Robin Durr. I believe it's going to be 29 drivers that are going to actually take the green flag in this one here this evening. We're going to start in the twilight hours. Track will be a little bit slick. We'll transition into the evening hours as this race progresses, so that track will cool down. With that being said, a little bit slicker conditions with a higher track temperature. Ross, what do you think? Do we get aggressive, try and gain track position if we didn't get it here in qualifying? Or do we maybe kind of ride for a little bit, wait for that cooler temperatures and that grip to start coming in before we make forward progress?
Yeah, I think that, this is going to be an opportunity early that maybe it'll spread out a little bit easier because it's still a little bit of sunlight. But I think if, you're by yourself, or at least you get spread out with fresh tires, turns 1 and 2 still have a ton of grip. So then I think later in the race, you get that cooler temperatures. I think there'll be a lot of times through 1 and 2, you could pretty much go wide open. So 3 and 4 are a little bit more tricky, but I'm excited to see the 2 corners and how they navigate them throughout the night.
Hunter Madalinas and Shane Neiswanger come into this race top 10 in points, both first, chasing their first checkered flags here of season 11. Here we go, endurance race here tonight at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, and we are green with a great launch on that outside line by Shane Neiswanger. And even down the back straightaway here, Madalinas was able to utilize the shorter way around the track through 1 and 2 to draw back even. Hugs that blue line through 3 and 4. He'll clear for the top position and will lead lap 1. Looks at the top 4, top 5 get themselves single filed out. Best battle is going to be for 6th. I believe that's the 53 of Jared Duda looking to the inside.
Yeah, a few of these drivers just trying to jump to the inside right away down that backstretch on that first lap. I saw looked like Manji trying to, and he is able to complete the pass on Henderson to get up into 4th. But yeah, now you got Lawson was trying to look to the inside of Austin Moore there, but yeah, gotten single file now. It's just trying to grab those positions, like you said early. You know, here's your chance with everyone's close together.
Jump able to slot into the 3rd position, just in front of that 24 of Tony Manji. Looking further back here. This is where you mentioned about William Barbagelata. He wasn't going to stay towards the back for long. He's ripping the top, trying to make some moves. 41 of Justin Mons back in that conversation. Hunter Brittle in the 10. We talked about on that grid. He didn't qualify well last week at Richmond, and he struggled most of the day there. Didn't really qualify well here tonight as well in that 10 machine. We'll see if he's going to be able to work his way up through the field. It's wearing out the back bumper of the 26 of Ashton Lawson is that 53 truck.
And you saw the 53 almost like cutting through the grass. It's so easy on the front stretch here at Charlotte to, if first you kind of almost want to run to the right a little bit if you're running by yourself, and just it sets you up better for turn 1. But then somebody can jump to your inside, and that's what the 53 Aduda was trying to do. He waited to 3 and 4 and completes the pass now by Lawson. But yeah, this front stretch, the dogleg can be a little unique, and there's some opportunities there if you're careful.
And you talk about that infield grass there, we've seen multiple times, whether it's a truck, whether it's a stock car, where drivers will get that left front fender down off the racing surface and into that grass, and a lot of that is the visibility problem. You can't see past the truck in front of you. You clip that edge of the D-shaped front straightaway just enough, you can find yourself in trouble. That's not level. The grass is not level with the racing surface. There is actually an elevation difference.
Yeah, for sure. And it's there's a little bit of you get to be a little bold, or you try it once or twice, you feel like I could maybe cut through there a little bit, but it's not ideal for sure. But a lot of these drivers, it feels like that front end of the pack is easier to get kind of separated in single file, but these guys here pretty much double file throughout, pretty much, I don't know, about 15th on back. So looks like Kept is going to get through. Peterson following in his tire tracks right now, but those guys just trying to be the next ones to get in that single file line.
3 races in and a lot of big names on the outside looking in for a playoff spot. Top 10 in points at the conclusion of the regular season will be battling for the championship, and Eric Kempf in that 63 is one of those drivers. 12th in the standings coming to this one, 7 points below the cut line. You got Nathan Jump also in that conversation. Angel Delgado, who has shown speed, a former pole sitter on the season. Could be that this type of a race is something that would fit right into their wheelhouse if they're able to establish the long run. And we could see them heading into the Memorial Day off week, them up now into a playoff spot by the time we get to the next race at Watkins Glen.
And I'm looking up at the front, we got a little bit of a battle for the lead here. Like Neiswanger's been trying to set up Madalinas a little bit. He had a peek to the inside into 3 there, had a nice run down the backstretch. But Madalinas kind of acted like he was going to close the door, and ultimately didn't. Now it's going to back up Neiswanger to Manji here, who's going to look to the inside in 1 and 2.
Keep an eye there on that 24 of Tony Manji, coming off that great run last week at Richmond that has moved him up by leaps and bounds through the point standings. And out of the top 3, top 4 right now, he has the fastest lap. Not the fastest lap so far in the session. That goes to the 27 of William Barbagelata, who's very close to cracking into the top 10 right now in the 12th position. Yeah,
I'm interested to see, that Neiswanger looked really good. He was one of the fastest in practice. I thought Obviously qualified on the outside of Madalena, so I think he's definitely going to have something here tonight to run with him. And Manji, Henderson, these guys are all kind of staying right with Madalenas, not letting them get away. I think this is just maybe sizing each other up, seeing what you got. But it's exciting to see some close racing so far, even though they're just kind of following each other. Manji maybe gonna look to the outside. I like that move. If you can get to the outside through 1 and 2, then 3 and 4, you got maybe a little bit more option to kind of get by him. But now he's gonna jump back to the inside.
Try to utilize that side draft there into 3, drives it right down on that double white painted line. Looks more blue when you're looking at it from far away because the blue's a little bit more prominent, a little bit wider of a stripe there, but it is considered a double white line, which is not out of bounds, just a guideline showing the difference from the apron to the banking of the racetrack. As here we go, you talked about that outside move. Nicewanger dialed it up through 1 and 2. He's going to try and take the lead and will do so to the entrance of 3.
Yeah, it's almost like Nicewanger learned and saw what Manji was trying to do, and he's like, okay, that looked like it would maybe work. I'm gonna try it on Madalenas now. Hunter's gonna make sure to try to battle back here on the inside. We'll see if Nicewanger can use that top lane again through 1 and 2 here.
Only 2 drivers in our field tonight, former winners at this racetrack. Hunter Madalenas has 1 victory here. Ashton Lawson, the only multi-time winner at this racetrack, and currently Lawson inside of the top 10. Madalenas battling for this top position with Shane Nicewanger, Tony Manji trying to close up, and Elliot Henderson at 37, he hasn't really forced the issue. He's been more than willing to be the caboose on this 4-truck train, just kind of watching everything that's happening out the windshield.
Yeah, and I think that's not a bad idea. You can go almost 40 laps here in this setup with the fuel. So we're not even through the halfway point of this run. So if you can kind of just ride and save your stuff a little bit, let these guys race, you might see something. Oh, now we got a yellow. That's gonna. I jinxed it, didn't I?
Hunter Brittle, I believe, in the 10 has had an issue. Second straight week that this 10 truck has struggled, and it looks like he's had a moment over there. It's at the entrance to turn 3. It looks like.
Yeah, pretty much by himself, maybe, or at least the end of the incident, he was by himself down there in turn 3. But we'll see if he was by himself or got some help.
Brittle started off the season pretty well with back-to-back top 20s, but a 28th place finish last week dropped him 6 spots in the standings down to 20th. And here's a look at what happens. Oh, looks like he might have tried to clear himself across the nose of Trey Bartow. Pretty good contact with that right front fender into the outside wall.
And it looks like we're going to have pretty much everybody bring their trucks down to pit road. I think this is probably a good idea. You've probably run most of the great rubber out of the tires on this first set here, and it's crazy to say, but it's somewhat of a window. Even though you can go about 40 laps, on a set of tires. From here, you could potentially do it just on 2 more stops if we do go green for a while. So, looks like maybe some strategy from that 42 truck.
Yeah,
Jeremy Pienta jumping.
I think
up there.
he might have gone with 2, maybe fuel only. Definitely gained a ton of track position right there. It's going to cycle to 3rd or 4th position, it looks like. So, a bit of a gamble. We'll see if it pays off, and if it does, I guarantee you, we get later on into this race, other drivers are going to take notice of that, and we may see them utilize that same strategy to either maintain or get track position late. Yeah,
and this yellow, ultimately everybody kind of was together and kind of all part of the main pack, but the 2 of Preston Henry kind of had some issues. I'm not sure what happened on the start, but he was almost in jeopardy another 5 to 10 laps, maybe even going a lap down there. So I think maybe some technical issues, but was on pit road for a bit longer than everybody else this yellow, but back out on track now. So hopefully he can rejoin and get to racing with these guys.
Making his first start on the season and only 16 laps into this event. Lap 17 on the board, and Hunter Brittle looked like for a brief moment may have been off the racetrack there. They got the damage repaired. He has returned, but we will have to see. I mean, I don't know. Charlotte is one of those tracks where usually aerodynamics are more dependent on your turnability through the center of the corner, but looking at the replay we had there was definitely contact with the right front fender. How bad do you think that's going to affect him for the remainder of this race? We talked about it. It's an endurance run, and you get damage in the early going. Are you going to be struggling for the rest of the night?
Well, and I think that we talked about it with these trucks and the way that they race, and especially here once it gets a little cooler, like they start to turn into more of like a drafting, pack racing truck. So I think any damage that maybe could hurt your aero might be of more of effect later. I don't know. We'll see. But ultimately, hopefully, he can keep up there and at least race okay within the draft and with everybody. But yeah, we'll have to see if he can at least salvage something out of the night.
Well, we will be keeping an eye on that 42 of Jeremy Pienta, second truck on that outside line. Clearly at a tire disadvantage, utilize the strategy to gain track position. Can he maintain it? It'll be Shane Neiswanger, Hunter Madalinas, the front row once again here, this time with Neiswanger on the bottom and Madalinas up top. Green flag back in the air, and immediately that 42 kind of jumped up. I don't know if he spun the tires or what, but he had Nathan jump into his back bumper.
Yeah, and you got to be careful. You got to make sure you stay in line. There is a penalty in this series if you don't, but it's going to put almost 4 wide there. Austin Moore was pretty safe there by falling in behind the 42. I think he really wanted to get to his outside, but that stacked up the kind of the mid-pack on back there.
Yeah, you see the 42 kicked up way in that high groove, top side of 3 wide. It's actually going to brush the wall there off of 4. So the strategy call not going to work out here in the early stages of this run, at least for Jeremy Pienta, as he'll now drift outside of the top 10. Up front, Tony Manji has now slotted himself into second place. And whoa, big move there to the bottom. I think that's Nathan Jump trying to make, I don't know if he was trying to make a move on Elliott Henderson or if he got loose off the corner and was trying to gather it up. Maybe a combination of both.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what Jump's able to do here. He kind of fell back as that top 4 kind of drove away that first run. I kind of thought, he's going to have a shot to win tonight and compete as we got a battle for the lead. Now Manji's going to look to the inside of Neiswanger. Tight off of turn 2 there for Neiswanger, but going to keep it side by side.
Tony Manji coming off of that run last week at Richmond. He is 18th in points. A good run tonight. A win could move him up into the top 10, and he is now the new race leader in that Quaker State Chevrolet Silverado. Neiswanger slots to second. Battle's going to be for third. Nathan jumps to the top side, and look at the speed he's able to carry around that outside line. That looked like 5 to 10 miles per hour difference between him and the 7. Now he crosses to the bottom on Neiswanger.
Man, somebody told Nathan Jump there's only a couple laps left in this race, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, but that was you can kind of use that turn 1 and 2 high lane. It's almost like a push to pass. You can jump up there, get a bunch of momentum, and then just drive down the backstretch and make some time up. So, yeah, he made that move work and just kind of was able to get to the inside. He might go for the lead here as Manji gets loose off of 2.
Slid right across the nose of Shane Neiswanger. To your point, door open. Here comes Nathan Jump looking to the bottom. Lot of momentum in that 11 camp. Didn't get a good start to the season at Daytona, but a 9th at Atlanta, a 6th last week at Richmond. Now he finds himself up in the top 10 or the top 12 in points. He is 7th in the 11th in the standings, and he is knocking on the door, 1 point back of top 10 in overall standings. A win would obviously get him up there and maybe give him a bit of a cushion as well heading into the off week.
Jump's going to try again here down to the inside on Manji. I think that it's just so tough. When you get to the inside, if you don't have a lot of momentum, you kind of basically have to just ride it out and hope the guy on the outside makes a mistake. But it's he's going to jump to the outside. I like that move. If you want to go grab the lead, I think that you got to do it quick by using the outside for momentum, and we'll see if he'll cross him back over. Another swing. Love that move.
That is amazing. It almost kind of reminds me of a movie you'd make in an Indy car off a corner to be able to break side draft as there might be some contact, some squeeze, and they're off of 4. We're door to door coming back to the line. Manji will lead that lap, but Jump still to his inside, headed for 1.
And you wanna use that outside again, but now you get side by side. You have to wait for Manji's move. I think that the 24 has done a great job of using the outside lane, but maybe not staying on the gas as much. It might save his tires a little bit. I think Jump, he's got to complete this pass and get out front. Otherwise, he might have kind of used up some of his stuff here. So I think he's hoping that Manji would maybe even just kind of give it to him or make a mistake, because I think that's one thing. He's hasn't been afraid to use all the tire he's got right now.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm checking right now. Yeah, we indeed do have over 100 laps left to go. Is this a fight more for clean air than anything, do you think, if you're the 24 and the 11?
I think so. I also think both of them are very competitive guys, and they want to go race each other, race up there. I think that ultimately you want to be able to control the race, be the guy in the lead, and have that opportunity to kind of make the decisions maybe a little easier. So, yeah, I think Jump, we saw him just running kind of in 5th, let the top 4 kind of get away in that first run, maybe just feeling out what he's got tonight. But he was eager to go once he had a chance to sneak up into that top 2 there.
As you can see on our scoring pile that continued repair on the 10 of Hunter Brittle now has him multiple laps down, effectively taking him out of the conversation for the race victory here tonight. And we talked about the fact that we kind of started in twilight. We were going to end this race completely in shadows, and we're starting to see some of those shadows creep in. 3 and 4 completely covered in shadows. Same for 1 and 2, and then a little bit of the shadow of the grandstands hovering over the front straightaway. We've yet to have any of the shadows reach the backstretch here, but do you think that just those little intermittent moments that they're having in the corners here, that they're feeling that extra grip now, or do we need to have the track completely bathed in darkness for them to start to feel that grip come into play?
Well, I think this top 5, or at least Nathan Jump, is feeling way more grip than he thought he had maybe in that first run. So I think that a lot of these drivers, you probably, you just start to feel it. I think that the other thing that's nice about this mile and a half is it's got almost some ridges in the track where you can drive down to the bottom in 3 and 4 and have kind of go a little bit farther into the corner and drive a little deeper and get back to the gas a little earlier than you usually would, and it kind of holds you in place. If by chance you are using too much throttle, it'll kind of fix itself, and you maybe won't lose as much ground as you would at, say, like a Chicagoland or Kansas or some of those other tracks. So I think that's one thing. It's a little more forgiving about trying to see where that edge is here, and a lot of these drivers maybe just finding where that edge is now and using it to their advantage.
Battle continues for the lead. Side by side for 3rd, Elliott Henderson, last couple of laps, has been trying to get around the 49 of Shane Neiswanger, and I saw a pretty good battle that was heating up in the 10th position there, so I believe that's Zachary Henry going to brush the wall. That was where I was seeing that battle. Christian Peterson was trying to put a move on the 12 of Henry. Now Eric Kempf in that conversation. Matthew Durr in the number 18. A lot of drivers kind of wadded up here just outside of the top 10.
Yeah, and drivers that are just trying to gain some track position. We see Jared Darling now to the outside of the 63 of Kempf. And Darling's up 11 spots, had to start towards the back. So just slowly making their way through some of these drivers that maybe didn't have a great qualifying run. We talked about Barbara Gelada up to 7th, up 20 spots. And we had Spencer Owens, our Daytona winner, up 12 spots. So through pit stops and through those that first run and even halfway through this run here, lots of opportunity to make some passes. We're seeing some great racing so far.
Yeah, pretty impressive. We talk about the fact that it's based off of points, whether you make the playoffs or not, but wins certainly help in terms of my momentum. And the past 3 winners here this season sit 1st, 2nd, and 5th in the overall points after 3 completed events. Battle now going to be for the 4th position. Madelinas tries to draw a bead on Elliott Henderson. He had to fight off a battle from Ashton Lawson, and now Henderson goes for a block on the 7, a move on the 49, maybe a little bit of a double there to try and move back up into the 3rd spot, and he'll complete the pass. Took him about 3-4 laps of side-by-side, but he found the momentum he needed, found the grip on that inside line, and now he puts Niswonger in the rearview mirror.
Yeah, you kind of use that outside lane just as defense to keep Madalinas behind him, and Henderson was able to get the momentum to also get around the 49. So, yeah, it's cool to see how you can kind of make that outside lane work, even maybe not for the pass, but just to set up your next pass, and that's what a lot of these drivers are doing, just to keep the momentum. I like Madalinas. He's the bottom feeder guy. He's going to run bottom pretty much all the time. I think that's his thing, and it works. I mean, obviously multiple race winner, but in this series. But yeah, it's interesting to see all these drivers moving up now as we get about halfway through this run, but Madalena staying on the bottom.
We're starting to see this race continue to progress. We were talking pre-race how tires are so important. I've seen a number of drivers sliding off a turn 2 and brushing the wall. Latest victim, I saw the 53 of Jared Duda. He got up and smacked the wall a little bit there off that 2nd corner. You see a number of drivers getting loose, trying to make moves on the inside line as Madalinas using up Ashton Lawson to try and make a pass, and I think there might have been some contact. That now brings William Barbagelata into this conversation.
I think Barbagelata was just had a little bit of momentum, kind of like, hey, you guys, you gonna figure this out here or what? Like, I think on the backstretch there, but I would say there's been some big moments between, you talked about Lawson and Madalinas both winning here. They've had their share of battles in this series, so I would say no love lost between the two of them. So, but Lawson's gonna get that spot now. Barbagelata is gonna work on Madalinas. Oh, we got a truck in the wall in the back there. Is that Moore?
Yeah, that's Austin Moore in the 91. And he was, I believe, up inside of the top 10. He was running around the 8th, 9th position. This is now going to drop him back out of the top 15 to the 17th spot. Another driver now catching up to him, that being Evan Snyder in the 93. And we're seeing some of these drivers that have kind of kissed the wall. They're still able to continue on, but that was a pretty solid hit there for Austin.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that you probably, maybe just a little bit of damage to be fixed and you probably be okay, but now you got to deal with that. If there is a little lingering damage, it's going to maybe make your truck, oh man, they're really, really tight racing here but between Lawson, Barbagelata, Niswonger all kind of pushing each other. But yeah, it's one of those things, you get a little bit of damage here and you have to deal with it for a while as you try to, work your way through the pack.
I don't know if we were borderline tandem drafting right there with the 49 and the 27, as now Barbagelata will get the inside of Shane Niswonger. Project 2 tires in the early going has not worked out for the 42 of Jeremy Pienta. He is right now 18 seconds plus behind the race leaders. He's not currently in danger of going a lap down. He's about half a track ahead of the race leader, Tony Manji, but this race continues to run green. He may find himself in trouble near the end of this fuel window, and I'm not 100% certain, but I'm speculating maybe Nicholas Caressel might have gone with a 2-tire strategy as well. He has progressively been losing ground to the front pack also. So a couple of drivers that gambled, tried to gain some track position with some tire strategy are paying for it here, and obviously some experimentation. I applaud them for trying it out here, but as I said, drivers, if it worked, they'd be taking notes of that. Maybe we're kind of putting that on the back burner here if we end up having some late yellows now if you're any of these front runners.
Yeah, we talked about it even off air before the race about the tire sets, and it's one of those things, if we get a green flag run like we got right now, it's ultimately going to set up where you have a set pretty much for every time that you want to come get one, so I think that using the 2 tires maybe isn't the best call. Is looking at Christian Peterson trying the way top here on Barbagelata. Kind of a quiet start so far for Christian Peterson, running in 8th. He started 9th, just kind of riding it out here in the back half of the top 10. Gonna slide up in front of Barbagelata. We got a yellow.
Caution's out. Oh, trouble for Brent Kingcott in the 5. Looks like he's been up and into the wall there in the entrance of turn 3. Pretty good damage there. He's pancaked the right side of that Toyota. And past the 40 lap mark, second caution of the evening going to fly here at Charlotte.
And we'll have to see what happened around this incident here. I think it's going to be really interesting as far as the strategy side of what this caution will do. I think everybody's going to come down and get tires again.
There's a look. Ooh, Austin Moore in the 91. Oh, got really squirrely there. Was trying to avoid getting into the back of the truck in front of him. Just clips the right rear quarter panel of Brent Kincott. I couldn't make out who that other truck was behind Brent that might have had a little contact to their right front fender. This is on board with Austin Moore. Into the back of Jared Dutta, and then there's the clip. And Moore hard into the wall. As a matter of fact, I believe Austin Moore, with that contact, at least right now, they are not showing him on the racetrack. I'm not sure if he's on pit road getting damage repaired or if he's actually retired.
Yeah, it looked like, I don't know if Moore was, obviously had to turn down and maybe just didn't know that Kincott was down there or just kind of surprised him. Otherwise, I just down the straightaway every once in a while, you just kind of get the side to side going and you lose control. But, maybe just trying to keep from, bringing another truck into the incident, but ultimately did. That's just, sometimes that happens. But looks like everybody came down pit road. I don't think we got any two-tire tries this time. So
shocking.
Yeah, I think that's probably the right call. But Brent Kincott is still down on pit road working on some damage. Looks like the 53, we saw Jared Duda get a little bit part of that accident. He also spent a little extra time working on some crash damage maybe, but back out there. So yeah, I think this is outside of any potential window. So I think, if max save, maybe you could get back in the window, but that's going to be pretty tough. I think these drivers are, they just got fresh tires now. There's going to be no saving. So I think that ultimately it's just going to make it a little interesting if we're able to get this going green. But we saw what Jump was able to do right away at the start of that last run, but now he's going to be up on that front row. I think it'll be interesting to see. And then Elliot Henderson did a nice job on pit road there, and he'll restart in third here.
Ashton Lawson picked up a couple of spots as well. Going to be on the outside of the second row with Hunter Madalinas and Matthew Weeks now up in the 6th position. Weeks was running, I believe, around 9th, 10th position for most of that run. We've yet to see our points leader make an appearance inside of the top 5, and there he is, along with last week's winner, Christian Peterson, Jared Darling. Going to be the completion of those first 4 rows.
Yeah, I saw Henderson was second off of pit road, but for some reason, and I heard a little bit of driver chat, iRacing is sent him to kind of third. So I don't know what the issue is there, but Jump's going to have the second starting spot for this restart.
Well, we saw Nathan Jump and Tony Manji, the fight they had for the race lead during that last stint. They're now door-to-door once again for this restart. Let's see if they resume that battle. Oh, a little bit of a late start for Jump. That stacks up the entire outside line. Lawson back to Weeks. Now everybody scrambles in that outside line to find some space going into one inside line. Top 3 get clear.
Yeah, this will be the first time we really see Henderson up here trying to battle for the lead. He's been, up in the top 5 pretty much the whole night. He's going to look to the inside of Manji. Manji's going to slam the door, keep him back there. But, yeah, that a lot of ground lost for Jump there, but he's going to have to work his way back up there. We saw him do it the last time, but this time the momentum, it's going to take a little bit to get it back going.
We'll be side by side with Peterson for the 4th position. Now he'll drop alongside of Madalinas for 3rd, ripping the top like we saw him do when he worked his way up to Tony Manji. And put the move on him to try and take the race lead. He'll now use that outside line again through 3 and 4, and just look at the momentum he is able to carry. And what's impressive about that here as well, Charlotte's not a cookie-cutter racetrack. People might think that 1 and 2 drives exactly the same as 3 and 4. There actually is a lot more of an abrasive corner going into 1 on the entry. It's more sweeping, more gradual over in 3 and 4. So for him to be able to find that momentum on both sides of the racetrack is very impressive.
And it's also kind of narrow. It's a very narrow track for the intermediates, and and when you have the momentum, sometimes it's just tough, to use it anywhere because it's so narrow. So, off a turn 4, it almost looks like a funnel. And so when you're able to use that top in 3 and 4 to be able to have the opportunities to gain track position is pretty rare. But he's making it work. Now Peterson's going to try 1 and 2, the outside momentum work. He's going to do it in 3 and 4. See if he can battle up in this top 2.
Tony Manji coming into tonight. Guess how many laps he's led in the first 3 races? 0. First time he's been out in front this entire season. And that 24 car, as soon as he got out in clean air, he was able to hold off the advances of Madalinas and Nathan Jump. And he's looking like he could be the truck to beat here, at least in the early going. But we talk about the fact that this track is going to transition as we get further into this race. Is he going to be able to keep this momentum up when that grip level starts to increase?
Yeah, and we talked about that, kind of that last run about how it's been kind of a quiet night for Christian Peterson. But here he is now up to second with Manji up here. We've seen so many times last season the teammates Manji and Peterson have their moments where they're kind of both first and second. So haven't seen much of that this year. I know Manji was running decent for a while last week at Richmond, but now leading up front, it's him and Peterson first and second for the first time tonight.
And with Peterson in the second position, closes up the points gap a little bit between himself and Matthew Weeks. Not much, because Weeks is currently holding down the 5th spot, but it was 15 points between those two for the regular season points lead. There you see it's now been cut down to 13. Barbara Gelada still in 3rd. Madalena still in 4th. Spencer Owen still in 5th. So the points difference has changed, but the top 5 coming in are in the exact same order they were before we took the green flag.
Yeah, and it's always important to continue to stack points right now. It's a season that it's a long season, and it's a long regular season, and like you say, it's not about wins. It's about just consistent finishes and being in that top 10 in points. So every point matters. As we're gonna go 3 wide, baby. Jump looking to the inside of Peterson. He made the block, but it's gonna maybe set him up to pass Manji here for the lead.
We should be used to that move by now. He's done it a few times, but every time he does it, I think that truck's getting out of shape and he's trying to gather it back up, especially with that pan shot we've got down the back straightaway.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to see that angle and see Jump's the guy to do it for us. I give him all the credit. We should give points out for style, because that's what Nathan Jump has here. He's going to look to the inside now on Manji. I think this will be a great battle once again.
And Manji looks to his left, goes, oh man, not again. We're doing this all over. Take 2. Oh, Manji a little wide there off of 4. May have barely brushed that safer barrier, but look at the run he was able to get down the front straightaway. At least for the moment, edges ahead into turn 1. The problem is, I think for Nathan Jump, he's so comfortable on that top side, but he knows Manji's not going to give it to him. He's going to force him to be uncomfortable on the bottom. He just can't seem to find that power from the center off.
And I saw down that front stretch, you saw Manji get the wall, and Jump was basically in the grass. So it shows how narrow this track is, or at least how narrow it feels when you're behind the wheel of these trucks. So, yeah, I think Jump is really wishing he could run that outside lane, to get around Manji. But Manji's doing a great job of just using the bottom and really arcing the corner. That's gonna basically set it up where it's a little harder to get alongside somebody, because they kind of use both lanes through the through each corner set.
I want to talk about somebody that's doing a great job. Take a look back in the 8th position. Matthew Durr just made his way around Ashton Lawson. Jared Darling following him as well, but Matthew Durr comes into this race 23rd in points. He's yet to score a finish higher than 19th in these first 3 races, putting together a really solid run here in the early going of this race.
Yeah, for sure. And a guy that he started about 16th, so just slowly making his way up through the pack. It looks like he's trying that outside lane in 3 and 4 and trying to keep the momentum up. Looks like Darling's going to try the inside here to set him up into 1. And Lawson, we see Lawson now back to 10th. He was running pretty much 5th, 6th, 7th right in there so far tonight, but kind of going backwards on this run.
He and Zachary Henry and Shane Neiswanger and Hunter Madalinas, all 4 of those drivers were up at one point in the latter halves of the top 10, and now starting to fade back, and it almost makes me wonder, are these some drivers that are kind of giving way to those that want to use up their tires here to move forward? They in turn are kind of reining it back just a little bit, preserving for the long run. We've had some pretty long stints here with a couple of cautions to break it up. We've yet to get to a round of green flag pit stops. Maybe some of those drivers, those veteran drivers, thinking this might be our longest run of the day, so let's not get too aggressive and use up our good years in the early going of this stint.
Yeah, and tires, we know that tires matter enough that when you potentially have a green flag pit stop, you're going to have drivers out there with fresh tires, drivers out there with old tires. This also being the narrow racetrack that we were talking about, the pit road entry is a little stressful. So I just think that the idea of a green flag pit stop here at Charlotte, my thought, if I was one of these drivers, is I want to make sure that I have just a little extra, maybe a little extra tire, a little extra fuel to go a little bit farther if we do get to green flag pit stops. So that way I can just stay on the track as they'll start and see if we can get through some stops before, because that's where mistakes happen and bring out a caution. So I like that idea if maybe you're trying to just ride here, save some tire, save some fuel, so that way you can go a little bit farther. But yeah, we'll have to see if anyone, these guys here are racing pretty much side by side throughout this, 8th through 12th here, and not slowing down at all.
Yeah, throw a blanket over them. Not a whole lot of room to be able to work with. You kind of see them kind of race where they ain't mentality. If they're on the bottom, we go to the top. If they're on the top, we'll go to the bottom. Look at how tight this is coming off of 4 and onto that front stretch. On board with Hunter Madalinas, a former winner here at this racetrack. We mentioned about the 2 cautions tonight. The last yellow involved the 91 of Austin Moore, and he has retired out of the race. He'll finish 29th this evening. Tough break there in only his 2nd start in the season. We saw him make his first start back at Atlanta, where he started 20th and finished 16th. So an early end of the night for driver 91. We've still got 28 drivers running, 27 of them currently on the lead lap. Hunter Brittle is the only driver running that is off the lead lap.
Yeah, it's a little interesting here, kind of how, Neiswanger and Madalinas, both drivers that were up near the front battling for the lead early in this race, have kind of fallen back here. So it's just really tough now, as once we've gotten spread out a little bit, for these drivers to gain ground. I could tell there's almost without for sure knowing, I bet it's a little frustrating when you're the 49 and the 7, because it's just tough to get through this pack. It looks like the 7's going to push Neiswanger back up there, but yeah, that is it's a little tough. It takes some time to set up the passes to move up.
It's interesting to me. I'm looking at a lot of these drivers and the fastest laps that they set. Most of these laps were back on that first lap of the second restart. But right now, we're running anywhere from a second to a second and a half slower than those fastest laps that were put down. So there's obviously time to be gained on fresh rubber, and we talked about the fact that they were told that there were going to be 4 extra sets along with the tires they started on pre-race, but we end up finding out there is actually 5 extra sets down there. With the window we've got, is there a benefit if you potentially think about strategizing with the undercut if we end up having a complete cycle of green flag pit stops?
I think there's a benefit, but like I said, I just don't know if we'll get a complete cycle. So it's a tough track for green flag pit stops. I've run not that it's the same style of racing, or definitely different, very different car, but the NIS NASCAR iRacing Series 600 miler. When you run that race, it's very rare to get through a whole set of green flag pit stops, and I think that's just because of the way this track sets up. So I'd love to see it. Well, hopefully these guys can do it. I'd love to see them get through it and see where it cycles through. Then I think, if you are one of those drivers, you short pit a little bit. That might set you up. We talked about on that last pit stop that they're not really in a window, so it gives you some opportunity to maybe, cut off some of the old tire you're going to have in this run and save a little bit on the next run too. So yeah, I think it's with that big of drop off, it'd be great to do it. It's just a matter of, can we get through the cycle?
Watching this battle here just outside of the top 10. 00 of Aiden DuPont looking to the inside of Matthew Durr. A lot of drivers here that are running outside of even the top 15 in points, having some good runs here. We're on board with Trey Bartos, only his second start on the season. Made his first start last week at Richmond, solidly holding down the 15th position. Well, as soon as I say that, he's under fire from Nicholas Caressel in the 40 machine.
And Caressel had some extra time on pit road. Not sure. I don't think he had any damage or anything, but ultimately back up, battling here for top 15. Nice job this run to kind of work his way back through the mid pack.
Josh Robin just behind them in the 8 car, currently in 17th place. If we're looking at drivers to maybe do something a little bit outside the box in terms of strategy, might be looking at that particular area of the field. Drivers just lingering outside of the top 10, inside of the top 15, maybe looking to snipe some of these front runners here this evening as third place under contest. Couple of former winners on the season. Peterson on the top, Matthew Weeks on the bottom. Matthew Weeks not only with that victory back at Atlanta, but he has been the model of consistency in these first 3 races. That's why he's the points leader, and he's kind of also been one of those drivers that we've seen at tire shredders like Atlanta and Richmond that has been so good on the long run. We're seeing that again here as we're nearing 30 laps into this stint.
Yeah, tight racing there as Peterson tried to, come up in front of Nathan Jump, and Jump was kind of not giving him much room, but they sorted out. But yeah, Weeks now up to third and looking to the inside of Peterson. Yeah, he's just been so great on the long run, no matter what track, and that's something, you talk about him leading the points. That's something that with a lot of clean and green racing so far this season, and of course I just jinxed it because now we got a yellow. Weeks has been great.
Out. Oh man, 2-time Charlotte winner Ashton Lawson going around there on the entrance to turn 3, just in the latter portion of the back straightaway. And this is one of those drivers we documented was steadily falling back, the handling appearing to maybe go away on a number of these race cars, and we'll have to see if there was a little assistance that took place here, or if the 26 found himself in a compromised position.
Yeah, tough moment for a past race winner here at Charlotte. Actually, I have in my notes, Seth, you said that 2-time winner at Charlotte. Ashton actually has won once on the oval and once on the Roval in the Great Lakes Truck Series. So, today it turned right when you're not supposed to turn right on this configuration there. I don't know, I'm not blaming him there, but that was we'll have to see it again. But yeah, just kind of get crossed up there and had Niswanger to his right and got turned into the wall.
Yeah, that was just inside of the top 10. That was a battle, I believe, for the 9th position at the time. On board here with Niswanger, and he got the wall. I don't know if he made contact with the truck in front of him and then brushed that safer barrier, and as he was turning left to come off the wall, he then tried to tuck back up. He had lost enough momentum that Niswanger was able to slot just to his right rear quarter panel, and by the time he came up, he was not clear, so that sends the 26 truck around. Fortunately, we didn't have anybody else involved. Everybody else was able to scatter, and it was just a single truck incident. Obviously, there's a question mark on the amount of damage sustained on Ashton Lawson, but the biggest thing is the track position he's going to lose here is Zachary Henry utilizing all that runoff space, and you see about a half dozen drivers go down there onto that apron as well, heading into turn 3.
And I think it's just, we've seen the big momentum you can get on the backstretch exiting 2 there, and I think there was just a kind of 3 trucks kind of just all coming together at the same time. So yeah, I don't know if anyone's really at fault, just kind of a stack up, but both Lawson now on pit road working on some damage. Looks like Brent Kingcott from that pass caution working on some damage yet, but yeah, so everybody came down and pitted here. They grabbed pretty much everybody grabbing their 3rd set of tires, meaning they got 2 more sets in the pits. So we'll have to see. This still, now this sets them up to maybe make it. You're still going to have to pit at least one more time. But yeah, this will be interesting to see. No one venturing the idea of not taking tires, or if they did, they're not telling us by maybe riding out in the back. But I think everybody's using up all the sets when they can, and I think with 2 sets left here, just being past halfway, I think that everybody's looking okay. We'll just see when they decide to use them.
It's interesting because so far it has seemed like our 3 cautions have come out somewhere between 20 to 30 laps into a run. If we look at what we've got left remaining in this race, we're going to be going back green with 60 laps to go. You mentioned we're not in the window to make it the rest of the way. If you're a driver, do you maybe start strategizing, making that final pit stop halfway through this run, maybe 30 laps around lap 104, and then have 30 laps to the finish? Or do you run as long as you possibly can, just in case we end up having another caution come out about 25 to 30 laps from now?
I think we saw it last week at Richmond. I think the plan, if you're up in that top 10, 15, would be to go as far as you can, and then once 1 or 2 maybe pit, if you're any of those lead trucks, then you got a decision to make on whether or not you want to pit then. So I think that would be the goal if we get this to go green.
Teammates on the front row, Manji and Peterson. We saw Manji kind of catch Nathan Jump flat-footed on the last restart. Let's see if he can get another good launch. Indeed, he will. He'll lead them stacked up 2nd place on back. He won't have any line to have to defend, has his choice of the entry into turn 1.
Looked like maybe a little bit of a bobble through 1 and 2 for Weeks. He kind of moved up the track. Peterson gave him some room. They able to battle for that 4th spot, but yeah, we'll see if Jump and Manji can get back to their battle for 1st and 2nd again for the 3rd straight run in a row. So Peterson now is going to use that outside lane to jump up to that top 3 around Henderson.
Yep, going to try and move to that 3rd spot here. Matthew Weeks looks like he could be shading to shoot up the middle. Now instead he'll ride it a little bit wide off of 2 in the tire tracks of Peterson. He'll draw even with Henderson now for 4th. Battle is on for the lead. Same song, 3rd verse. Nathan jumps side by side with Manji. Might get the pass done, and he will this time off of turn 4. But Manji, contact, looks back to the inside on the front straightaway. Jump with a massive block.
And through the grass, now back down to the inside in 1 and 2. I think this is where Jump wants to be. We've talked about it. I think he wants to use that outside lane and use the momentum. I think this is going to, be the pass. It's just a matter of can Manji force it back by him. But yeah, I think early on in the run, maybe that bottom lane is enough to get him clear. And now Manji's going to try to return the favor, and he's going to get turned.
He's going to get turned. Was not clear. Jump wasn't going to lift. Manji, 1 block too many. He's up against the outside wall, and the driver up to this point that has led the most laps. A lot of damage on the front end of that Quaker State Chevrolet.
Yeah, I think, we saw it the last run, maybe, or the last battle there between them. They maybe there was some thought there. Manji's like, well, yeah, I gave you a little bit of a break. You're going to give me one, but I don't know if that was the case. I think ultimately Jump was clear Manji the last run. This one, it doesn't look like he was. So we'll have to take a look here. But yeah, just close racing. He was so close to having him cleared too.
You see with how deep Manji drove it into 3, he was thinking slide job, and you can just clearly see right here, Jump is still to his right rear quarter panel. 1 bit of contact. There's the 2nd one that's going to send the 24 car around. That is a heavy hit into the outside wall. You saw that right rear tire come off of the ground. And a great battle for the lead ends with one driver out in front, the other driver wrecked. And those two had had dogfights a couple of times up to this point. And I kind of almost wonder, as you can see with the onboard there with Nathan Jump, kind of similar to what we saw with the last caution when we ended up seeing Ashton Lawson try to clear himself up on Shane Neiswanger. Is there maybe a blind spot there on that right rear quarter panel for these drivers where they have to kind of rely on their judgment of whether they're clear or not?
Yeah, there might be a little bit of that. I think, ultimately, I think you also are kind of just hoping that the other person's going to give you the room or check up a little bit. But even right here, you're thinking, then we're breaking this down in slow mo, which obviously they're running,
Yeah.
making these decisions in half a millisecond. But yeah, it's tough because you probably feel like your angle exiting the corner is going to be okay, that it's going to be close, but you're going to be side by side. I think if they were a little bit closer to side by side, then that works. But since he had just a little bit of a nose in there for Jump, it's going to just make it where Manji moves up at all, it's going to turn his truck front end to the right and spin him. So tough break. Doesn't look like a ton of damage back out on track right here. We see Manji maybe going to be able to salvage something here. Yeah, maybe the front left a little bit of damage, but not too bad. I'll be interested to see what this does to Jump. Obviously having that truck slide across his nose and maybe give him a little damage, if that'll affect him as he stayed out and is going to take over the race lead here.
Looks like they've done a pretty good repair job on that 24, and we do know that you can work your way from the back to the front. A number of drivers that didn't exactly do all that well on their qualifying lap now find themselves up here 80 laps inside of the top 10. Case in point, Jared Darling in the 1. He started this race outside of the top 20, and right now he is, I believe, going to restart in the 8th position. So we'll see if that speed is still in the 24 truck as he'll try to make his way back up to the front. And man, it's just been a tough couple of weeks for him, right? He was up there in the conversation for the victory last week at Richmond, got caught up in that last restart wreck, and now here in battling for the lead after leading the most laps so far here tonight, finds himself involved in our latest caution and loses all that track position. Now going to have to fight to get it back, as his teammate Christian Peterson now will be on the front row with new race leader Nathan Jump. It looked like a couple of drivers, maybe a half dozen drivers, came down pit road here under this caution, but most of the leaders with this quickie yellow electing to stay out and keep the track position they've got. Nathan Jump going to lead us back to green. Little stack up again there on that outside line. And I know that the race leader is the control car, but it just kind of seems like that outside line, even though it looks like they time it correctly, they're just not able to get the launch the inside line is.
For sure. We've seen it almost every start that driver on the outside has fallen back. Now Weeks is going to take that opportunity to grab second and even look for the lead here. Inside, outside, trying to figure out the best place to try to get around Jump here. But single file, and now Madalena's back up into the top 3 for the first time since early in this race.
Back in the conversation after starting this race from the pole, looking at this side-by-side battle ahead. Weeks trying to get to that right rear quarter panel on exit of 2. Looks like he is there. He'll draw side-by-side with Nathan Jump. Dead heat going into 3. Who's going to get the momentum here onto the front straightaway?
Yeah, I like the spot that Weeks is in here, but we've seen Jump. He's had a lot of practice up there racing for the lead and even a lot of the time down on the inside. But, yeah, usually the top lane is the one that prevails after a while, and we'll see if Weeks can do it here. But Madalena's going to push his teammate Jump there if he gets an opportunity to, maybe not.
We saw Matthew Weeks get his first career win in the Great Lakes Racing Truck Series a couple of weeks ago at Atlanta. And dare I say, after he got that checkered flag, Richmond last week, tonight here at Charlotte, we've seen maybe a newfound aggression out of this 56. The confidence level is through the roof. It only takes that one win.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, one that we've been waiting for a long time. I don't know. I think that it's one of those things now. You've raced around these drivers to expect after a few seasons at it, but Jump's now going to drive right back by him on the inside and take the lead back.
3-car breakaway at the front. Madalinas, the 3rd car in line, about another 4 car lengths back to Christian Peterson, who's trying to hold off William Barbagelata. Kind of an interesting point of note. We've talked about the consistency of Matthew Weeks, but he's one of 2 drivers that has scored top 5s in these first 3 races. Barbagelata is the other, and right now he's holding down that final spot inside of the top 5. We might not have heard the last here this evening of driver 27.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we said it from the start that we thought he was going to be a guy to move up through the pack. I think, potentially to the top 10. I was hoping, maybe at some point in the top 5, and he's there. Just doing a great job of just slowly working his way through. A guy that's probably also doing a great job on pit road, making sure on those yellow flag pit stops to gain some spots and hit your marks through pit road. But yeah, all the way up to 4th now around Peterson is Peterson stuck in the middle of a 3-wide battle here with Owens and Henderson.
Big wiggle, big save back around 14th. Josh Robin was trying to make a move on the 53 of Jared Dutta and nearly lost it off of 2. Gathered it back up as we continue to watch this side-by-side battle inside of the top 10. Henderson wrapping the bottom. Peterson, Owens up on the high side. Shane Neiswanger about a half groove lower, just trying to get some clean air to the nose, get some turnability through the center of the corner. Zachary Henry, Jared Darling in this conversation as well. Look at this, about 6 trucks, 3 to 4 different lanes through 3 and 4.
And just, we've seen it out of these drivers. Some of these drivers have had a taste of that top 5 and running up there. Some of them have not, but either way, I think a lot of them know if they get up into that top 5, you can kind of, take a little bit of a breath and ride it out a little bit and keep that track position as, Jump just maybe grab the wall or at least got a little high off of 2, or at least showing us that lane again where he drives all the way to the bottom, even though he's by himself down the backstretch. But yeah, he's pulling away a little bit from Madalinas. I said they're teammates, but they're not teammates. It's just the double monster schemes up front here, 1st and 2nd. But yeah, they're 2 different teams this year.
See if Nathan Jump does that. Oh, trouble! The 2 of Henry. Little half spin. Nice save there, utilizing the transition of the apron and the banking of the corner. His first start this season, Preston Henry in trouble, and I was noticing he was putting together a pretty decent run after he was almost in danger of going a lap down the early going. A little half spin going to bring out this, our latest yellow.
Yeah, been kind of a up and down night for Preston, and he had the issues at the beginning of the race and needed the yellow to get caught back up, and now running up there near the front, or at least with the pack. And we'll have to see what happened here. It looks like Evan Snyder racing with him down the front stretch and just cross the nose.
And that's one of the unique things about this front straightaway, right? Because most of the time it's a sweeping little bit of a left-hand turn, but here you're going straight, turn left, go straight, turn left, and then prepare for turn 1. And so many times, kind of like what we see on the entrance to a corner at a mile and a half, like a Chicagoland or a Kansas, where 2 drivers just want that slight little piece of real estate together, and that's the contact that we end up seeing. Nice job there, though, because that could have been a lot worse for driver number 2. He was able to gather it back up, little 360, nobody else gets involved, and I don't think he really got any damage. He'll probably just need some fresh Goodyears.
Yeah, for sure. Able to maybe get back in this race and keep it going. A night that he isn't giving up on. Obviously having the issues early too. So having a shot to at least finish this. It's so far tonight it's been not a ton of drivers calling it quits. We've had Brittles multiple laps down. We have Jeremy Pienta that had his issues, called it a night, in Austin Moore. But other than that, everyone's still battling up here on the lead lap. Pit stops, everybody basically pitting. Looks like maybe we're going to have the 53 of Jared Duda is going to stay out here. Obviously he pitted back on lap 72, had a couple cautions, so 10 to 15 laps on his tires. All the drivers here coming down pit road, they all grab tires. I think this is the right call. Right here, you're going to be right on the window. I think you could make it. It's going to be to be really close, but I think, if I had to be a betting man, most of them should be able to make this from here, and you still have another set of tires for a late yellow if you get it. So it'll be interesting to see what Dude is able to do here. I think maybe he's hoping we go another 10, 15 laps, and he's able to stay up in the top 10 and then grab his other set. But I don't know if this is. I don't like this strategy. A little nervous about this staying out here.
First time we've really seen that number one pit stall pay dividends for the pole sitter Hunter Madalinas, as he was the first off of pit lane. He'll restart on the outside of the front row on fresh tires. His pit crew, or at least his total pit stop there, was about 0.2 of a second quicker than both the 11 of Nathan Jump and the 56 of Matthew Weeks. So finally getting that launch he needed to the pit road exit line, and Madalinas trying to find himself out in front once again for the first time since the opening stages of this race. But to your point, we saw the problems that Jeremy Pienta had earlier on in this one, trying the two-tire strategy. Everybody was scrambling to get by him. He was scrambling to get out of the way. Jared Duda is going to have his hands full here in trying to make sure he maintains his truck underneath him, because I think he's going to find himself freight trained a couple of times here in these next upcoming laps.
This right here might be the first time where that outside lane actually gets a better start than the inside
Good
lane.
point.
So we'll have to see. Madalena, it's going to be blood in the water here, because he knows he's got a driver to the inside on old tires, a chance to grab this lead here from the second spot. We'll have to see how this restart goes.
Mentioned Jeremy Pienta. He has retired of the race with Austin Moore. Hunter Brittle keeps getting laps here with these cautions. He's now only -7. He was -10 earlier on in this race. As here we go. Jared Duda on those 18-lap older tires than the rest of the field, trying to lead us into turn 1, but watch out, this 7 on the fresh tires tries to drive around the outside. Look at the run. Nathan Jump's going to get to the back bumper. Oh, he's going to make contact and spin the 53. Caution is not out yet. That truck still, I guess, deemed off the racing surface, out of harm's way. We remain under the green flag as Madalinas takes the top spot.
Yeah, and I think that he's far enough down that no yellow. It's a tough break, because I thought he did a great job of getting that truck going and getting through 1 and 2. I knew that there was a chance. Obviously Madalina's trying to grab the lead. Jump, both of them wanting to grab the lead. I knew there was a chance he'd be in the middle, and it just, unfortunately, it's gonna send that 53 back a half a lap behind now, and give Madalinas and Jump the opportunity to lead this thing first and second.
And with a lot of damage as well. We saw that rear bumper cover coming off the 53 after that impact to the inside wall. Battle will be for the third position. Matthew Weeks side by side with Christian Peterson. Barbagelata looking on in the 5th position. Jared Darling still in this conversation as well. Outside of the season opener at Daytona, this is about the most competitive we've seen that one truck be, and he's been consistently up in the top 10 here for the last 40 to 50 laps.
Yeah, doing a great job. It's just a little bit of a mix-up with some of these drivers having an opportunity to get up into the top 10 here now. Darling and Zach Henry. Owens, we've seen him kind of just slowly make his way up into the top 10 as Darling's going to get to the back bumper. Weeks there down the backstretch, wanting maybe to go 3 wide, but knowing that's probably not the best option. Just waiting for it to sort out to see if he can crack this top 5.
Daytona winner Spencer Owens right behind this battle. Currently in the 7th spot, and there's the 53 down on the apron, letting the leaders on by. Jared Duda in that 53 machine. Now he's going to fall 1 lap down. He still stayed out there. He has not come to pit road to repair said damage after getting spun around there on the back straightaway, the exit of turn 2. We'll see how much longer he soldiers on here before he eventually tries coming to pit road, seeing if they can make repairs to that machine. A lot of damage on that right rear quarter panel specifically.
Yeah, probably just waiting for a yellow, hoping that you get it. Obviously, you just were racing in the pack. You just went back to green. You're hoping that they're racing crazy back here, hoping a yellow that would give you the chance to either get the free pass now or at least just get caught back up. So probably the last ditch effort for that 53. But now these drivers getting single file. We talked about it. If we're able to go green here, it's going to make it really interesting because, you know, we talked about 40-ish laps, maybe 42 if you're under green. We went back to green with 42 to go. So, you know, depending on when you pitted there, it'll be interesting to see if any of these drivers have to do any saving, or I don't think any of these leaders are doing that. I think they're trying to grab the lead and get away. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see if all of them can make it if we get this going green.
You look all the way around this facility, you can see the sun has peaked down beneath the horizon. We're in the portion of the day that we old folks called the gloaming, and the track is now bathed in shadow. So now we will start to see the track temperature cooling down here as we close in on 30 laps to go. This is when drivers will be at the optimal grip level to be able to make moves. And if we get ourselves that late race caution you were talking about with that extra set of tires down there on pit road, we could see even more aggressive moves here in the closing stages than we've seen in the first 100 laps.
Yeah, and I think depending on when that caution falls and if it falls, it would be very interesting to see if people use their tires right away or if they decide to save them for even later. So yeah, I think it'll be either way. We're gonna have some interesting strategy yet, even though we haven't had the green flag pit stop that we were hoping we would get at some point tonight. But Manji is back up to 15th, running, trying to battle for 14th here. Not too bad for obviously getting in that incident a little while ago.
Too early to maybe start playing the Jaws music, but the speed is obviously still there. The handling might be a little bit different than what he was experiencing when he had that truck out in front, but hey, catch a yellow at the right time, gain some track position on pit road. We could still see Tony Manji in the conversation for this thing, at least to maybe get up back into the top 5 where he was running for a majority of this race before that incident between himself and Nathan Jump. That battle for the race lead is not going away either. Jump is keeping Madalinas honest. He has been hounding his back bumper. Oh, trouble in the back! We got one around. That is Evan Snyder in the 93, and there is that caution coming to 30 laps to go. Now things start to get really interesting.
Yeah, and Snyder like just got crossed up sideways on the backstretch there. Maybe two drivers going for the same lane down the backstretch. We'll have to take a look at what happened here, but I think I got a little interesting thing I was noticing right before that yellow. We're gonna talk about. I want to talk about after this replay. We'll have to take a look, but yeah, I think everybody's gonna be questioning whether they want to grab that last set of tires yet. Looks like Snyder to the inside of.
Is that Trey Bartow?
Yeah, it might be.
Hard to tell. That was either Trey Bartow. Yeah, I think it might have been for the 15th position. As this is on board, and ooh, that 93 caught a little bit of air right there.
And pit road is open, and we have a kind of a mix of strategies here. Our kind of first guy to pit was Madalinas. Jump stayed out, so our first and second drivers doing two different options. But I kind of teased you there as an idea here of what strategy I saw. I don't know if it's a race-winning strategy, but I thought Josh Robin there looked like maybe on the last pit stop he did not use his second-to-last set, and now he's coming down using his second-to-last set. So he was kind of falling back on old tires there on that last run. I noticed he was multiple seconds behind the pack, but didn't spend a lot of time on pit road that last caution. So maybe he has that extra set to grab a set here, and then depending on where he gets middle of the pack, if the other drivers that are still saving their last set, he could go use them again and get a solid finish out of it here. So I like that. That's a great strategy for a guy that's maybe been running mid pack tonight, but. Yeah, I think not bad for the guy running. It's like running 14th now, but yeah, maybe he's trying to save some tires here by hanging out in the back a little bit.
Driver number 8 with a little bit of a different varying strategy to everybody else, and 8 drivers, it looks like, elected to stay out. So does this mean if you're Nathan Jump back to Eric Kempf, you're basically showing your hand now and you're saying we've made our final pit stop of the night. We're not coming back to pit road any longer outside of maybe repairing crash damage. We've made our bed. We're going to lie in it here for these final about 25 laps.
I think that's probably the plan if it stays green, of course, or at least, if we get a bunch of cautions too. But I think if all of a sudden you go 15 laps green and then you get a caution, it's going to be really tough for these guys to not want to come grab that set, and knowing that that's going to be much faster than these drivers that have used their final set now. So I think there'll be some of these drivers that stayed out are going to want to come down and get that set of tires at some point. I think if you're up in the lead here, of course you don't really want to, if you can help it, just try to keep that track position. But interesting to see. I got Zachary Henry up to 6th, making his 100th start tonight. I was going to give you a little bit of trivia before we go back green here. He won in his 3rd ever race in the Great Lakes Truck Series, 100 starts. And who finished second to him that night when he won in Bristol of 2021? It was me.
Was it you?
Yeah, still not giving that, even 2021, still not giving that one up. So congrats to Zach Henry on making start number 100 in the Great Lakes Truck Series. Nice night here to be his highest running order now, up to 5th.
Our top 7 drivers did not make it. Top 8 did not come to pit road. 15-lap difference on their tires to the competition behind them. Nathan Jump, William Barbagelata going to clear for 1st and 2nd. Henry and Peterson going to battle for 3rd. Keep an eye on those fresh tires back there with Madalinas, Darling, Owens. They're going to be aggressive here to fight their way to the front.
Yeah, we saw Matthew Weeks kind of make a quick jump to try to slow down those guys with the 4 tires. Jumped in front of Madalinas. Now Madalinas is going to get to the outside of him, and now going to get to the outside of Henderson. He's going to be moving up very quickly, trying to get to the top 5 on that top lane.
Try and rip the top here. Going into 1 and 2, you see a couple of drivers there. Manji, who stayed out, trying to gain back the track position he lost. He tried to move up and block. Whoa! A little contact between himself and Zach Henry off of 2. They gathered that back up, but the 7 continues to charge. He's to 3rd, looks for 2nd off of 4.
Yeah, lots of battling, guys getting into the wall. Madalinas is going to have an opportunity to grab this lead here. You see how fast those tires have worked, and it's even 10 to 15 lap fresher tires is going to be enough to grab him the lead here. Darling going to look to his outside and try to grab 2nd. Another guy with fresh tires here.
Blue and white 49 of Shane Neiswanger also on fresh tires, as now the fresh Goodyears will go to 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. Madalinas, Darling, Neiswanger. 25 to go.
And we were talking about it under yellow. I think these guys that didn't take tires, if they got a caution, they'd be wanting to go grab theirs, because obviously now the fresh tires have grabbed the lead. It's pulled out to a couple, 3 of them here just kind of getting away. And this is going to be a huge opportunity for these guys to just go grab this win and battle for it. We saw Neiswanger running up near the front earlier in this race, kind of was towards the middle of the pack mid-race. This is kind of a nice reset for him. Darling, we've seen him slowly move up through the field, now has a shot to compete here. And then, of course, Madalinas, a guy that we thought would, worked his way back up there, but now on strategy is going to grab the lead.
I know it's early on in the season. We still have 10 races left in the regular season after tonight before we put the playoff grid together. But look at the storylines of these 3 and the question of who wants it more. Hunter Madalinas, 4th in points, 2nd highest without a victory. You've got right on that 10th in the stands cut line coming in tonight, Shane Neiswanger. Jared Darling, we've documented the struggles he's had in these first 3 races, 25th in points. How bad do you want it? Top 3, less than 5 car length separation.
Yeah, and if you're Darling here, this is the first time you've really had the opportunity to be up in the top 3 and maybe going to see what you got, getting in the grass a little bit there, but a lot of these guys that have battled up near the front, Niswanger, we saw him earlier in this race, he's tried a few different things to grab the lead or grab positions up in that clean air, so it'll be interesting to see if Darling has an opportunity to make something happen. Now we got Mons and Durr up into the top 5 with fresh tires. I think Owens now 6th. He's also on fresh tires, so our top 6 able to get around Nathan Jump and be leading this thing with the fresh tires.
Yeah, we gave Matthew Durr his flowers earlier on, but how about that 41 of Justin Mons? I was watching him just prior to that last yellow, and he was hovering between 11th to 13th. He was getting ready to crack the top 10, now utilizing this strategy with the fresh tires in line for maybe his first top 5 of the season.
And looking to the inside of Mons there, trying to make something happen for 4th. But yeah, you got to remember, obviously they had to drive through the pack with those fresh tires, but now being up near the front, they all still have some pretty solid grip here. So we'll have to see if over time, if they start to wear out a little bit and what's going to happen. I think Darling, Niswanger, we'll see if any of them are saving anything to have a shot at Madalinas. Meanwhile, this is kind of a multi-class race. You got the guys on the old tires here still battling it out to see who's the best of them. You never know. You get a caution, you could have a moment where you go grab some tires. I see my buddy there, Josh Robin, now up to using his fresh tires to get up there. I still think he has another set too, so it'll be interesting to see if this strategy works out for him to get a good finish or even steal one.
And look, right in the center of our screen, you can see it on the scoring pylon. Look who's up to 10th. The guy that was involved in our second caution tonight, Brent Kingcott, has fought his way back up for a good finishing result.
Yeah, for sure. This tire strategy, the extra set that we talked about, is really thrown a major wrinkle in this. To see guys like Jump and Manji and Peterson, Weeks, Henderson, all back half of the top, 15, 16, all the way back to 20th because they haven't used their last set yet, and now all these drivers that were battling out, even Caressel here, going to try to battle for a top 10. Great opportunity for these guys to jump up and make something of their night.
Yeah, a lot of drivers who had some struggles here in the early going. Caressel was in danger of falling a lap down at one point in this race. You see just behind him the 93 of Evan Snyder. He was involved in the last caution, and now he's knocking on the door of the top 10. We kind of set the stage coming into tonight. This is the 3rd longest race of the season, only to the season opener at Daytona and our championship weekend at Texas. We knew it was going to be an endurance race, and with the longer distance, we were going to see cautions vary up the strategies, especially in the second half of this race. We're seeing that play out, and I have to wonder, a couple of the drivers that elected to stay out included former winners Matthew Weeks and Christian Peterson. We see how they are no longer in the top 10. With Madalinas up here leading this race, one would have to consider now how this is going to affect the point standings heading into our off week in preparation for Watkins Glen. There you see it. Madalinas, 1 point to the good over Matthew Weeks. Owens has moved up to 3rd, but look at Peterson. He was 2nd in points coming into tonight. Now he's dropped to 5th, 15 points out.
Yeah, and Madalinas, you talk about it, you go, how deflating it is. Drivers that were all up there battling. Here comes the past champ to grab the points lead if it cycles through here, no other yellows, and take a week off and then go to Watkins Glen, a track that Madalinas has shown moments where he's just dominated. So I think it'll a little deflating for those guys that had a chance all night with solid finishes. Peterson, Weeks, Jump all had an opportunity tonight, and now I still think we get a caution. It's going to make it real interesting, but for right now, this is really just thrown the whole race into a crazy ending.
Yeah, we saw last week we had to use all of our overtime green-white checkers at Richmond as we were approaching 10 laps to go here tonight at Charlotte, and we're seeing our top three, for the most part, all running the same identical lines through the corners. We're not really seeing just yet either second or third place kind of searching around, trying to see if they can gain an advantage on the race leader, Hunter Madalinas. When is too late, do you think, to start searching? Because every lap that we run is one extra lap of grip that these drivers are not going to be able to lean on.
Yeah, and Madalinas, I've noticed just maybe a tenth here or there faster than Darling, and able to just, keep him back there, not giving him an opportunity to even kind of try anything. But I don't know. Darling has shown some moments of looking a little to the inside, a little to the outside, but mostly just on the straightaways. Maybe just kind of looking ahead, seeing what he's got to make something happen here. I don't know. We'll see. I hope either of these guys are saving something to give us a battle here to try to take this away from Madalinas. It'll be interesting to see. I think both of them, they're not going to give up without trying. So we'll see. They're both aggressive drivers.
For Jared Darling as well, obviously every time the driver gets behind the seat of these race trucks, puts the helmet on, hooks on the Hans device, buckles all the belts, they have one goal in mind. They want to be that first one to the checkered flag. But as we've documented the first three races of the season here for Jared Darling, his best finish so far, the last mile-and-a-half track that we were at, Atlanta, a 20th place finish. While he obviously wants to get up here and wrestle this win away from Hunter Madalinas, I think he just wants to bring that truck home in one piece for his first top 5 finish of the season. So if he gets the back bumper of the 7, it will be interesting to see how aggressive he gets, or does he kind of big picture race here with the mentality, hey, I'd love to finish P1, but I want to finish overall.
Yeah, and both drivers from Spectrum Racing too, so maybe obviously in the chat with each other tonight, and now he looked to the outside a little bit, maybe trying to get a little bit of a run, and he definitely gains down the backstretch. But so friendly competition here as Madalinas is going to try the outside. Now Darlin's going to have a shot here.
Right up there on the back bumper. Maybe a little contact. I think it's a little bit of sparks there with maybe that front bumper rubbing the back bumper of Madalinas. And if these two continue to battle, that brings Dark Horse Motorsports into the conversation. Shane Neiswanger there in third, and I've been watching these lap times. Spencer Owens is turning some of the fastest laps of the drivers in the top 5. Look how he's pulled away from Justin Mons and is closing up on third.
Yeah, these drivers, it was a little fresh tires. You wanted to use them to get through the pack, but you also had to save a little bit. Darling's going to get to the inside of Madalinas and have an opportunity here. We'll see if this brings Neiswanger and Owens into it. But Darling's looked a lot better lately. Madalinas kind of sliding all over, and he's going to make the pass.
Darling completes the pass, but look at the ground he gave up. Slid off the exit of 2. Madalinas crosses him over. He'll go back to the inside here, going into 3. Door to door, heading off the corner of 4. I think Madalinas could be clear up. Indeed he is. Now Darling looks for the crossover on the front straightaway.
Yeah, it just feels like maybe Madalinas is lost a little bit of something. I thought that tonight he's been very fast early in the run, and then just maybe okay the second half of the run. But yeah, it's he was able to battle back and steal it back from Darling. Now Darling looking to the inside, but back up to the top, it looks like. Or nope, going to just follow in his tire tracks. Is Neiswanger using the middle lane here, trying to gain on these two.
Darling loses a little bit of ground there through 3 and 4. Now the gap 2 truck lengths from first back to second. Another 3.5 car lengths back to third place. Neiswanger, who's hoping that these two teammates maybe rough each other up a little bit so he can close in with less than 5 laps to go. Owens back there still trying to get into the conversation, and then a nose-to-tail battle for the final spot in the top 5. Matthew Durr hunting Justin Mons.
Yeah, Madalinas was the fastest of our top 3 that last lap. We'll have to take a look this time by with 4 to go. I don't know if Darling's kind of backed off a little bit here, maybe just used up his only chance. As Madalinas, yep, a little bit faster, just about a tenth Owens matching Madalenas' times right now, but just too far back. As Darlene maybe got the wall a little bit off it too.
Mentioned about the fact that Hunter Madalena is one of 2 former winners at this racetrack that were in the field here tonight. However, in that victory, he only ended up leading 4 laps. Oh, trouble! Caution! Peterson around on the back straightaway. We're going to overtime, and now, does the tire advantage pendulum swing to those who didn't pit, or do we see everybody on pit road here, Ross?
Yeah, I don't know. I think we're gonna have at least the drivers that have tires. You got to come grab them and give it a go. But yeah, these guys that are up near the top, really the top 5, 6, they got to stay out. They don't have any reason to come get. They're out of tires. So I think that they're gonna stay out here and hope that they can hold off those fresh tires. We knew this was a possibility as Peterson just getting loose off of 2 and round he goes.
Trying to hold off Elliott Henderson. That was back in 17th position. Both those drivers were on the old tires, drifting back and just trying to hang on. And every crew chief on pit road have now taken their playbook, taken their notes, and probably thrown them in the bin, because now it is going to be a gut check reaction as to what you do here under this caution. See a number of those drivers that stayed out under the last yellow, no choice. They got to come down and take fresh rubber. The problem is we only had about, 8 drivers that stayed out under that last yellow, so there was a lot less trucks that Madalenas and company had to pass on the fresh rubber. Now, I don't think that these drivers with the fresh tires are going to have that advantage. There'll be a lot more trucks they'll have to pass with a lot less time.
Yeah, a lot less time. I think the only thing they have going for them, maybe they have a little bit more fresh tire compared to these guys that had that opportunity that last run, because they're going maybe 20 or 30 laps now. Yeah, it looks about 25 laps on their tires. These guys up front where previously it was maybe about 15. So I think that these drivers up in the top 10, you got to remember they're battling for a top 10 spot in an overtime restart. So they're going to be aggressive too. So I think if they can keep it clean, that's going to be a matter of if then the fresh tires have the opportunity to get through. But we've talked about how narrow this track is. It's going to be tough. I think that it's going to be tough to go just one overtime. We might need multiple, and that maybe gives the opportunity for those drivers with 4 fresh tires. It's whichever one of them with the fresh tires gets out of the pack first, I think is going to be at a huge advantage here. It's just a matter of can they get there.
Looks like 11 drivers elected to stay out. I believe Nicholas Caressel may have gone with 2 tires. He got out ahead of everybody. Matthew Weeks, Christian Peterson, Elliott Henderson on back. They went with 4. And just to double check here, specifically with these drivers that stayed out, we're all good to go here, even with the multiple overtime attempts, right? Fuel will no longer be a concern for these guys?
Yeah, they should be fine. Obviously you can go 40 some laps, but they even if we have multiple overtimes, it might get to 40, but they've been able to save and obviously run a little slower on caution laps as part of those 40. So yeah, they all should be good as long as they fill them full when they made their pit stops.
Can you hold your breath for at least 3 miles, because we're getting ready for our first attempt at overtime. If they make it back to the white, next flag will end the race, but if they do not get back to the white flag and we see the caution wave once again, we rack them up and we will try another overtime restart. Madalenas, teammate Jared Darling, make up row 1. Couple of teammates in row 2 with Shane Nicewanger and Spencer Owens. Then Justin Mons, Matthew Durr, Josh Robin, Brent Kingcott, Aiden DuPont, Evan Snyder. That's your top 10 as we get ready to go overtime racing here tonight at Charlotte. And look at those old tires spinning for these guys up here at the front.
Oh, and caution right away. We got cars, trucks all over the front stretch here.
Saw the 28 of Shiflett, the 12 of Henry. I think Peterson got caught up in this one. Hunter Brittle, who's been fighting tonight. multiple laps down. Is that Nathan Jump down there on the apron as well? The 11 truck. And this is a caution that those drivers on fresh tires didn't want to see because it happened in front of them.
Yeah, and it didn't give them any opportunity to gain. You know, they weren't able. I don't see any drivers with fresh tires in the top 10 now, as they were before that restart. So it's none of them really gained too much. Maybe Nicholas Kressel, we talked about him. If maybe he even took 2 that last one, but he's going to be 10th. Maybe Elliot Henderson and Barbara Gelada did okay getting through that, but yeah, we'll have to see what happened here.
Yeah, you see the stack up. That's the 2 of Preston Henry. He was the last driver that had stayed out on old tires, and we saw a lot of drivers even up ahead of him struggling to get that rear grip, spinning those rear tires, and it just stacked up all those freshies that were on his back bumper.
We didn't see or notice this, but if you look here, you got Peterson, Weeks, Barbara Gelada, Henderson. Nathan Jump wasn't in this group. A little bit farther back, so I don't know if he had issues on the pit stop. He drove through the grass there to get through this, but we didn't really notice that. You know, obviously he was a guy that was leading the strategy of staying out the 2 yellows ago, and then the first to come in and grab tires on that last yellow. But so I don't know if it was a speeding penalty or something, but see if he gets through here by just driving through the grass. I know some of the trucks were going down there. Oh, maybe get a little front end damage there. Otherwise, not too bad.
Yep. He was down on the apron there as the field was cycling out of turn 2. Maybe just trying to figure out where he needed to slot in, as obviously at the time of the yellow, the field is frozen, and so everybody has to figure out where they're positioned at the time that yellow came out. We're on board here looking back from, I believe this is the 93 of Evan Snyder.
You look behind him right there, you got Henderson and Barbara Gelada. I think Barbara Gelada got a little bit of damage of a truck kind of sliding across his nose, but those are going to be probably our 2 favorites for the 4-tire strategy, if they're going to, or at least the last people to pit. Here, we'll see if they can sneak their way back up. But what a weird ending that this is going to be, regardless. Whether it's, you know, Madalena's able to stay out there and take this. Now this time it looks like Neiswanger is going to be to his outside. But yeah, this will be really interesting to see if Neiswanger has anything for Madalena. Shane's a guy, he's not going to give up and race Madalena's for this here. I think he's going to give him all he's got, regardless of the tire situation, all of them being on older tires here.
The sun has gone down, the lights have come on, and we're in for a fight now. Bare knuckle fight, elbows are out. We saw earlier on in this race, everybody trying to establish the long run, 20 to 30 lap runs, broken up with yellows. But now we're getting ready for 2 lap shootouts. We just saw the result of the first one. We're getting ready for another overtime restart with Hunter Madalenas, again the control car, and we already saw 2, 3, 4 drivers on those old tires struggle here. How difficult is that to put that in the back of your mind, that you might have that same issue again here on a restart? You're committed. You have to keep this track position, but you're just hoping and praying the grip you were lacking on the previous restart, that it's going to be here.
Hey, they all got a little bit of practice that first one, so any of them that are still in the top 10 obviously did okay that first time. The second time they got to maybe just try to mirror that and do it again. So we'll see if that how that goes. Watch out for Owens here up on that outside. We'll see if that outside lane can get going, and if Neiswanger's got something for Madalena's here.
So far, 3 races, 3 different winners. Owens would love to be the first repeat winner, but Neiswanger does not get going in front of him. Top 2 look like they might get cleared. Madalena's going to go to the point. Darling into second. Neiswanger now slots into the 3rd position as Madalena's tries to set sail in the wind.
And Darling's going to have another opportunity here to try to do something. We've gotten somewhat clean and green so far. I don't know if those guys on tires are going to have an opportunity. We see some of them flying through the field here on this final lap, but I just don't think there's enough time. Madalena's trying to get away.
Trouble in the back there, potentially. We stayed green, saw some sparks there off of 4, but white flag displayed. Hunter Madalinas, mile and a half away from his first win on the season. Wraps the bottom. Darling tries to rip the top, trying to close up down the back straightaway.
Yeah, just not enough time to run out. It's going to run out on him, I think. Darling, we're going to wreck in the back.
That's Barbachelata and Ashton Lawson. Caution's going to come out along with the checkered flag. Madalinas is going to pick up the victory here tonight in the Dynasty Fantasy Racing League's 201.
Yeah, just looking up at the finishing order to see where Madalinas and Darling first and second, with Elliot Henderson and Tony Manji with the fresh tires. They were able to get to third and fourth, get a top 5 out of it, save kind of their finish. Obviously, two guys that Manji's been all over the place tonight, even being in the incident earlier, but both of them able to get back into the top 5 with those fresh tires.
Hunter Madalinas, we saw him a couple of weeks ago hunting down Matthew Weeks at Atlanta. Came up just short of that checkered flag. Tonight gets a little mile and a half redemption as he wins the endurance race here under the lights at Charlotte. And you mentioned it, Ross. The last thing you want is this driver carrying this kind of momentum in 2 weeks' time to a road course that he's been so successful at Watkins Glen.
Yeah, and this was tonight. Not a typical Hunter Madalinas race. Typically he's a guy I talked about. He's the bottom feeder guy where everybody else is running up at the top. He did a great job tonight of just surviving and being there at the end. I think he wasn't maybe a top 3 truck when it came to race pace, but you give Madalinas an opportunity, you give him any edge towards the end of this race, and he's going to go take it. So he definitely did that, and he's going to grab his first win and potentially the points lead. We'll have to take a look at that, but a great job. We'll have to see you here what happened at the end.
Oh, looks like 28 of Shiplet just got really loose there. Catches the right rear quarter panel of Ashton Lawson, and second straight week that Ashton's had a top 10 truck, and circumstances in the second half of the race just causing his finish to not be nearly as indicative of how strong a machine he had. Another tough points night. And
I don't know, this Shiflet there getting a little loose. That might be a product of just, previously having fresh tires, running mid-pack, haven't really had an opportunity to go after it on fresh tires on those first couple laps. You can get a little bit loose and kind of be on edge early on in the run, and obviously just 2 laps to go. Not much time for those tires to heat up, but it looked like maybe the 41 there was kind of blinked out and then came back in and caused this incident.
Oh, gosh!
Yeah,
Eric
hard
Kemp.
hit for Eric Kemp.
Little BMX style wheelie right there out of the driver of the 63 after he ramped up off the nose of William Barbachelata. Look at that.
Nowhere to go with Zach Henry to his inside there. And really, I thought that Kep did a nice job of kind of almost saving his night there. After running somewhat mid-pack, he was able to be one of those drivers with fresh tires, and on that last restart there, was like 3rd or 4th in line with fresh tires. So, obviously, if you can be top, 5 in strategy in either of the strategies, you got a chance to maybe get a top 5 in the end. But was maybe going to grab a top 10 there towards coming off of 3 and 4, but unfortunately got caught up in that incident.
We'll see it in a few moments here as well. It'll be interesting to see what the point stands fallout is. You mentioned about Madalinas. When we checked the last time, Madalinas and Weeks were actually tied for the points lead. Madalinas with the wing. Matthew Weeks drifted back to 18th. William Barbachelata was 3rd in points and involved in that incident. Is going to finish 21st. So definitely expect a shakeup in terms of what the point standings looked like coming into this race as to what they're going to look like leaving tonight in preparation for Watkins Glen. Here it is. 1 point separation, Madalinas over Matthew Weeks. And how about that? Our top 4 are 4 winners so far here this season, from Madalinas back down to Owens. Only 16 points between those 4.
Yeah, awesome start to have all those drivers that have grabbed a win so far, all up near the front and not far back with Henderson, Henry, Barber Gelada, nice one there. I mean, they're all right there within half a race within each other. So, yeah, nice little battle here amongst the top 10. We'll have to chat with some of our finishers.
We've got a hold of Hunter Madalinas down in Victory Lane. Hunter, you got a copy?
Yeah, I got a copy.
Man, I'll tell you what, kind of felt like this racetrack owed you one from a couple of weeks ago. You almost pulled off the victory at the D-shaped mile and a half Atlanta. Tonight you get it done at Charlotte, but you had to establish this truck on both the long run and the short run. How'd you keep him at bay on that final restart? Because we knew the tire strategy was going to be crazy in the closing stages. We just didn't know how crazy.
Yeah, I had to give it my all the whole night. Just because of how the runs laid out, there wasn't ever a long run. I kept running runs like it was going to be a long run. And then when you got closer to the end of the run, that's when the caution came out. And, I was never able to gain positions from saving tires. But now, late in that race, I was like, all right, it's a one stop from here on out. I was like, I'm just going to give it my all and see, what my pace is like. And man, we stayed up front. We had incredible pace with jump. And then just playing that right strategy call to get, ahead. And then, it was just when that caution came out with 2 to go, it was just, pray, hold it as much wide open as we could and hope it either was a quick caution or it went the whole way.
We saw you come to pit road with 35 laps to go. Was that in your mind the final pit stop for this number 7 machine, or when we ended up having that other late yellow come out and we knew we were going to start going into overtime, was there any consideration of coming back down pit road if you had that extra set available?
If I had the extra set available, I didn't. So, my bed was made when I pit with 30 to go. So, I think the part that made me feel the best was the amount of guys that pitted on the caution with 30 to go. I knew there was going to be a decent sized gap in between the new tires and old tires, and I just knew, on a green-white checker with them restarting right around 15th, it was going to be pretty difficult in 2 laps to get from 15th to the lead.
Well, you come into this race 4th in the point standings. With the victory, you are leaving the new points leader 1 point over Matthew Weiss. You got the off week, and then we're at the lefts and rights in upstate New York at Watkins Glen. Came into this season the defending champion, looking to get that title in back-to-back seasons. Great start to the year for you. Congratulations on the job well done tonight. We'll now give you the opportunity for some thank you sponsors and shout-outs.
Yeah, just thanks to everybody at Spectrum. We ran an incredible race, 1, 2, 3 for the team. That was pretty incredible for all of us still at the end of the night to run up front there. Just thanks to you guys for putting on the broadcast, and I'm very excited to go to the place that I won to last season, and we're gonna hope to go back to back there, along with fighting for back-to-back championships.
Hunter Madalinas grinds it out tonight in this endurance race. He's the one in victory lane this evening in the Dynasty Fantasy Racing League's 201 at Charlotte. Congratulations! Enjoy the off week here in preparation for Watkins Glen in 2 weeks.
Thank you very much, guys.
Indeed, a 1-2-3 sweep on the podium for Spectrum Motorsports. Ross, I believe you've got second place.
Yeah, Jared, you got a copy?
I do.
Jared came home in second, battling there, not only in that last kind of 30-lap run after you guys were able to get through the pack with the fresh tires with Madalinas, but even at the green-white checker there, what did you need to maybe beat Madalinas in the end?
Yeah, I'm not sure. When we went green there with the 30 to go, going for that strategy, getting the tires and hoping it would stay green, I was very nervous about that. I was like, oh, it ain't gonna go green, but then ended up going green until the end. But I don't know. I kind of hung there with Hunter and was just trying to get, clean air off the corner and just kind of be easy on throttle. And with like 6-7 laps to go, I just tried the top line finally, just trying to get some air, and I got a huge run, and we actually had a pretty nice battle. And I thought maybe I had something for him actually, which I didn't expect. But then as the couple laps, getting towards the end, I just got too tight and I couldn't really do anything. But it was a really fun race, and it's finally nice to have a good finish this season because it's been a rough start.
Yeah, and you started kind of deep in the field tonight, just slowly made your way up through the pack. What was racing like throughout the pack? A lot of green flag runs going, and what was that strategy? In the end, it worked out for you guys to get all of that track position, finally get up in the top 3.
Yeah, it wasn't by design to start in the back, and in qualifying, I barely clipped the grass, so it didn't count my lap, and I would have qualified, I think, like 4th. So that was not part of the plan. But yeah, coming through the field was a lot. I don't want to say easy, but like I was able to make moves and pass people, and I was able to save the tires pretty well tonight, which usually I'm not the greatest at. But tonight I just kind of figured it out and painting the line, and then the top would come in as the run would go on. But I kept trying that bottom lane, and I was making some passes on some really good people tonight running the bottom. So that was kind of my success, was everyone would migrate up to the top, and I would just keep running the bottom.
Well, it worked out in the end to bring home 2nd for the 1-2-3 finish for Spectrum Racing. We'll give you a chance to shout out and thank anyone that you'd like to here to wrap up the interview.
Yeah, like you just said, 1, 2, 3 for the teammates, so that was good. It's a shame because we should have had some other really good finishers tonight too with Eric and Crusso, but the last lap kind of got them all out of whack there, so that was unfortunate. But shout out to you guys for the broadcast. It's nice to finally talk to you guys after the race. I've had the speed, just not the luck, but finally had the luck tonight and speed, so that was good. Shout out to the whole Spectre team again. Eric for all the paint schemes. I have some really good luck with this pink Whitney truck, so maybe I should start running this more often, but I cannot not run my Casey's truck. So I don't know. We'll see which one I run next week. But and then we go to a road race next week, so that sucks, or in 2 weeks or whatever. But so yeah, whatever's after the road course, I'll be ready for that one.
Well, I was just going to say that you run that Casey's truck and you almost guarantee that Ross is going to Casey's for pizza that week. So, yeah, it works. Sponsorship works. So, thanks for chatting with us, Jared. And, yeah, enjoy the off week.
All righty. You too. Thanks.
All right, let's see if we can get a hold of our 3rd place finisher, Elliot Henderson. Elliot, it's the guys in the broadcast booth. You got us?
I do.
Your 2nd podium finish on the season, your last one at the opener of Daytona. Maybe nobody had a more adventurous final 40 laps than you did. Sliding back on those old tires, going with the strategy there with 35 to go. Then you take the fresh tires on in the late yellow and had to literally cut your way up through the field, take advantage of those older tires. You're able to make your way up to 3rd place. First off, how were you able to maneuver through traffic? Because we saw a huge speed differential between you and those 35-lap-old tires around you. And secondly, what little more did you need to then be able to get up there, get your teammates, be able to put this 37 in victory lane, or was there just not enough time?
Well, I want to say a couple things about Caressel. I want to throw him under the bus, but also give him props. He ended up with a lazy start there, and I think that's what kind of set us back enough to not have the advantage to get up to Madalenas and Jared, but he did a great job of trying to work his way up through that traffic, and that's what kind of put us in a spot to even get up towards the top 5, which at that rate, yeah, I was running 19th or 20th right there, right before that yellow, so I was completely content to get a nice top 5 out of that. To get up to a podium and finish 3rd is phenomenal, but that's all on Caressel for making those moves, and I'm just following him through, and he's a teammate. That was our plan. I'm not going to be overly aggressive and push him or anything, but I also feel bad that he was involved in that wreck with Mons. Nothing you can really do about connectivity issues and the fact that we couldn't see Mons and then he reappeared and everything. So I got lucky from that, and that just is what it is. But yeah, at the end of the day, you just got to run the bottom, hope everyone gets tight, and just drive up under him.
We saw you and a number of drivers come down pit road at 35 laps to go to be able to take on that set, or I'm sorry, just they actually stayed out and then came to pit road with about 7 to go to take on the set of tires. If you could kind of go back, would you do the same strategy over again, or do you think you had an even enough truck to some of those front runners around you that maybe if you had come to pit road at that 35 laps to go mark, do you think the situation might have worked out a little bit different for you to be able to maybe be a little bit further up on some of these late restarts?
I don't know. You could ask one way or another. I just don't think I was aggressive enough on the restarts to want to run that many laps and run that hard at the beginning of them. So for me, it felt like the better option because then I could come in and just have the fresher tires at the end if that caution did come out. And that was kind of the bet I laid. I mean, with 10 to go, you're sitting there looking at it and you're running 20th, trying to pass for 19th and 18th. And you're like, well, I probably didn't make the right decision here. But lo and behold, that caution comes out and resets us. So, I don't think I was aggressive enough on the restarts to be able to manage that 30-lap run at the end. So, I don't think I'd go back and redo it. I think I would have finished probably 3rd or 4th regardless. Probably would have been shuffled on that long run, honestly, with the restart and everything. So, I'm content with what we've got, and 3rd place out of all that is phenomenal.
The strategy call definitely works. You bring it home on the podium. You gain 3 spots in the standings now. 5th in points, 22 points out. Got a little bit of an off week here to kind of reset in preparation for Watkins Glen in 2 weeks. Solid start to the season for this number 37 machine, and completing the sweep here in a 1-2-3 finish for Spectrum Motorsports as well. Congratulations on that, Elliot. Before we let you go, we'll turn it over to you for some thank you sponsors and shout outs.
Yeah, thank you. How about, Spectrum themselves, 1-2-3 tonight. Congrats to Madalinas. He's been phenomenal the last few weeks. Love running with him. Can't wait to... I know he's probably going to dominate Watkins Glen, so there's that. But, we got a good stretch coming up. I think we can eat into that lead a little bit, potentially. But thanks to Spectrum. Thanks to you guys for putting on the broadcast, the admins, all these guys for coming out and racing. I mean, it wasn't as clean as I'm sure we wish it could be tonight, but it was good, hard racing. It was kind of fun with how you could run tires hard or run them easy and try to save. It kind of created different strategies. Thanks to my girlfriend for letting me do this and not bother me on these nights, and everybody that makes this go on week after week.
Elliot Henderson brings it home, 3rd place here tonight under the lights at Charlotte. Congratulations once again. Enjoy this off week, and we'll see you back at it at the Glen in 2 weeks' time.
Thank you, guys.
4th race of the season, 4th driver to go to victory lane. And as we showed you those point standings earlier, the top 4, all former winners on the season. And Ross, we kind of expected it here tonight, right? As the shadows started to creep in, the lights started to turn on, we were going to see that aggressive level ramp up. And as it did, most of the first half of this race, it was all plan A. A caution comes out, everybody comes down pit road. We run another 20, 25 laps, another caution comes out, we come down pit road, but then we start getting into the second half of this race, and the strategies start varying, and we saw the end result of it on those final 2 restarts.
Yeah, and I thought this was just an awesome race. Hopefully these drivers that obviously it's maybe a sour ending in the end with that green-white checker and having some incidents towards the end, but ultimately a solid race and some great racing, a lot of drivers putting on a show. I'll let you kick off the race results and go through them before we wrap up.
Well, it is coast to coast, pole to win tonight for Hunter Madalinas with 53 circuits out in front. His teammates Jared Darling and Elliot Henderson make it a Spectrum Racing 1-2-3 finish. Tony Manji, what a comeback for him after he was wrecked off the nose of Nathan Jump. He'll battle back for 4th. Shane Nicewanger solidly in the top 10 all night will complete the top 5. Daytona winner Spencer Owens will finish in 6th. Nathan Jump actually had to mount a bit of a comeback himself as he was off sequence with the tires. He gets 7th. Matt Durr, solid top 10 run here tonight for him. Brent Kincutt, he was one of our early cautions. He still nets a top 10 in 9th. And Aiden DuPont, you may have caught there on one of those post-race replays, he actually was up in the air after clobbering the outside wall crossing the start finish line, but he'll still net a top 10.
And our 11th place finish for Mr. 100 starts tonight with Zach Henry coming home in 11th. Evan Snyder, we saw him in some incidents earlier in the race, back to 12th in the end. Christian Peterson, 13th. Justin Mons, 14th. Trey Bardo in 15th. Preston Henry in 16th. James Shiflett kind of ran mostly mid-pack through the end of the race, but got caught up kind of in that late incident. Matthew Weeks, Josh Robin, and Travis Hanby rounding out our top 20.
I believe most of these other drivers from 21st on down, they were involved in those late race theatrics, and I think a couple of them didn't actually make it back to the start finish line. Will Barbagelata had a great run going tonight, caught up in that wreck, will finish 21st. We saw Eric Kempf catch air as he wheelied off the 27. He'll finish in 22nd. Robin Durr in 23rd. Ashton Lawson caught up in a late incident. Two-time winner at this racetrack, both the road course configuration and the speedway configuration in 24th. Nicholas Caressel in 25th. Hunter Brittle struggled here tonight. He was 10 laps down at one point. The cautions got him free passes to finish 4 laps down, but still 26th. And then drivers that did not reach the conclusion finished behind the wall. Jared Duda, Jeremy Pienta, and Austin Moore completing the 29 drivers that took the green flag here this evening. Well, a well-needed break for these drivers. Memorial Day weekend on the horizon, so they will be off next week. They will resume on June the 3rd at Watkins Glen International for 52 laps of road course racing, the first road course stop of the season in upstate New York. We hope you guys will join us for that one. We congratulate Hunter Madalinas on the victory here tonight in the Dynasty Fantasy Racing League's 201 at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. For Ross Brockman, our producer Jeff Johnson, I'm Seth Cole. Have a very safe and happy Memorial Day weekend, everybody. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time here on the Split Second Broadcasting Network.